For centuries, history books told us a familiar tale. Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. But what if I told you that centuries before Columbus, another group of intrepid explorers had already set foot on North American soil? Their names were Vikings, and their forgotten saga is one of courage, conflict, and a lost dream. This is the true story of Vinland. Leif Erikson was not a man to stay in the shadow of his father's achievements. After hearing the incredible stories of a merchant named Bjarni, who had glimpsed strange lands further west, Leif's curiosity was ignited. He didn't just want to hear about these lands. He wanted to stand on them. He bought Bjarni's old ship, gathered a crew of 35 hardy Norsemen, and prepared for a journey into the absolute unknown. Navigation in those days was an act of pure faith and skill. Without a compass, they relied on the sun, the stars, and the flight of birds to find their way across the violent, grey waters of the North Atlantic. Their first discovery was a harsh and forbidding place, a land of massive glaciers and giant flat stones. Leif named it Helluland, the land of flat stones. Today, we know it as Baffin Island. But they didn't stop there. Pushing further south, the air grew warmer and the landscape changed. They encountered a vast territory covered in endless dark forests that stretched as far as the eye could see. This was Markland, the land of forests, or what we now call Labrador. For the Vikings, who came from a world with almost no trees, this was a treasure trove of timber. Yet, even Markland wasn't their final destination. Something even more incredible was waiting for them further south, hidden in the Atlantic mist. Deep within the lush and untamed lands of Vinland, far beyond the known world, the Vikings finally encountered the mysterious people who lived there. It was a monumental moment in human history, as two branches of humanity, separated for thousands of years, stood face to face on the edge of a vast and golden beach, looking at each other with intense curiosity and silent wonder. At first, the atmosphere was not one of war, but of peaceful discovery and cautious trade. The Norsemen brought out bolts of vibrant red cloth, a color rarely seen in the wild, and offered them as gifts. In exchange, the local hunters offered the precious, soft furs of wild animals, creating a bridge of commerce between two cultures that shared no common language but understood the value of beauty and warmth. But this peace was fragile and delicate, like thin ice over a deep river. A sudden misunderstanding, a misplaced gesture, or a simple feeling of unease soon began to turn their initial curiosity into a deep and paralyzing fear. The forest, once welcoming, now seemed to hide invisible threats, and the air grew heavy with the realization that trust is much harder to build than it is to break. The spark that ignited the flame of conflict was unexpected. A massive bull brought all the way from the farms of Greenland, broke loose from the Viking camp and charged toward the woods with a terrifying roar. The locals, who had never seen such a monstrous beast in their lives, were struck with absolute terror, believing that a dark spirit had been unleashed to hunt them down. The response was swift and overwhelming. The Skraelings launched a daring and coordinated attack from the sea, appearing suddenly in dozens of small, skin-covered boats. They paddled with incredible speed and precision toward the large Viking ship, their silhouettes sharp against the sunset, as they prepared to defend their ancestral home from the ironclad strangers from the north. A brutal and desperate battle erupted on the shores of the New World, where the sounds of iron clashing against stone rang out through the trees. It was a struggle for survival in a land that was as beautiful as it was deadly. Amidst the smoke and the dust of the forest, the dream of a peaceful Vinland began to fade, replaced by the harsh reality of a war that neither side could truly win. To survive in this wild land, the Vikings built a sophisticated base at Meadows. They constructed sturdy longhouses from sod and timber, designed to withstand the brutal Atlantic winds and the freezing winters of the north. This site became the first industrial center in America. The Norsemen set up a forge to smelt iron from local bogs, creating the tools and nails necessary to repair their battered ships for the long journey back to Greenland. Life was a constant cycle of hard labor. They spent their days hunting, fishing, and gathering valuable timber, a resource so precious that it was worth risking their lives in these dangerous, unexplored territories. Despite their efforts, the Viking presence in Vinland was doomed, outnumbered and exhausted by constant skirmishes. The Norse leaders realized they could not sustain a colony so far from their home and reinforcements. With heavy hearts, they loaded their longships for the final time. As they sailed away, they watched the green shores of America vanish into the morning mist, leaving behind only ruins and the memories of a failed dream. For 5 centuries, the story of Vinland existed only in the Norse Sagas, dismissed by the rest of the world as mere legend. The secret of the first European discovery of America remained locked in the ice of the north. It wasn't until the 1960s that archaeology proved the sagas were true. The discovery of their settlements changed history, proving that the Vikings reached these shores 500 years before Christopher Columbus. The Viking voyages to America remain one of the greatest feats of human exploration. They sailed without maps into the unknown, driven by a spirit of discovery that still inspires us today. Their legacy lives on in the wind and the waves. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what mystery we should explore next.